Geez, guys, is Shizzy hitting the fizzy at Yellowstone now? I mean, what is going on? These are the trending headlines now everywhere. Scientists discovered a city-sized bulge on the Yellowstone's volcano's northern rim. I mean, I've reported about this. We know that the magma is relocating, it's traveling. So what previously was thought is a potential eruption site is now migrated, but they kept telling us there's no eruption risk right now. We've just seen these phreatic eruptions, the smaller ones recently, right? So what's going on in this video, guys? So there are reporting that a gigantic bulge in the north rim of the Yellowstone Caldera is the latest sign of volcanic activity in the Yellowstone National Park. Volcanic activity. Okay, please define this further, because a bulge the size of the city, it's a little bit concerning, my dearest volcano freaks that watch my channel on a regular basis. And by the way, if you don't, please subscribe. And if you like, click the like and hype button. It helps my channel, doesn't cost you a thing. Thank you for that. So in geological terms, we call this type of bulge volcanic uplift. Volcano and uplift together, I don't like it. We're dealing with an uplift at the supervolcano Campi Flegrei in Italy right now, which is scary. Land rise. We've seen Iceland. Before every volcanic eruption, the land was rising because that means something is blowing up underneath. If you bury a balloon and then you blow it up underneath the surface lifts. So a land rise the size of a city. Okay, guys, when I saw this first, I'm like, because I kept telling you, I'm like, there is no immediate risk at Yellowstone. Is that still true? Let's dive into this. So July 2025, let's jump back a little bit. The Norris Uplift anomaly. Maybe you have heard the word the Norris Uplift anomaly. The Norris Geyser Basin, this is where we've seen all the trouble in the recent 2 years, these phreatic eruptions, one that destroyed the walkway and that was very dangerous for people that were nearby, but these were small things, like White Island style, but small, right? Somewhat small, I mean, not in the sense of like a big volcanic eruption. So they knew that there's a Norris Uplift anomaly in the Norris Geyser Basin. They have discovered that it first appeared near the basin in 1996, and then the uplift disappeared after 2004. And we know, and in Campi Flegrei as well, volcanoes can do this. Volcanoes can do this. Sometimes the land rises, and you know, if the magma chamber, it's in the magma chamber of fluids, if it doesn't get enough space, it sends it out somewhere. Sometimes it's called an intrusion. It stays underneath. It doesn't erupt. This is what was causing the unrest that we have seen in Santorini. Dangerous last year. Thankfully, it didn't erupt. So, and then after a while, that magma chamber or the fluids, they start to refill. So the land rise starts again. So they were happy. 2004, it's gone, right? July 2025, the Norris Uplift has returned. Boof, there it is. But right now, it has been returning since then, but it has grown. From July to now, it is the size of a major American city. I don't know, Seattle, whatever, right? What is a major? Is it New York? Are we talking about LA? Major American city. It measures roughly 19 miles across. Let that sink in, guys. We're talking like 30 kilometers, 19 miles. So some scientists say it's the size of Chicago. That is huge. It's really huge. It's big. And we have that on file. Michael Polland, he's a scientist in charge at the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory, has said that it is the size of Chicago. So if we look at the recent volcano update, the bulletin that the USGS has released on January 2nd, the scientists were informing us that the measurements indicate subtle, they call it. It sounds good, but is it? Subtle uplift along the North Caldera rim that appears to have started in July. And then here it goes. It's a city-sized bulge, but you call it subtle. I'm a little bit irritated. Let me know in the comments if that irritates you, because it may seem like a little bit of an understatement, but the question was asked. So according to the scientists, the phenomenon is hard to see from above ground. Yeah, because if it's stretching over such a large area, it's hard to notice it, right? Until Shizzy hits the fizzy. So they have collected data between July and September. Between July and September, the ground rose by almost 2 centimeters, like an inch. Might not sound like much, but I find this quite significant, especially over such a large area. So if the area is so large, that means a lot over a large area. There's a lot of stuff that is being filled, right? So that much over a large area, right, is as bad as that much over a smaller area, because the material has more room. So shift, yeah, it's too small to be seen by the human eye, but it was captured by GPS monitoring sites and interferometric synthetic aperture radar. So, okay, now we know. What does that mean for the Yellowstone supervolcano? Because guys, I mean, I'm reporting about the West Coast a lot. I just reported about that we now have the Mendocino triple junction. It's actually not a triple junction anymore. Five. I don't want to say more. You have to watch that video. It's absolutely crazy. So many bad news for the West Coast recently about the connection between Cascadia Fault and San Andreas Fault. That Nevada will be oceanfront. And now Yellowstone, yeah. What does this mean for the Yellowstone supervolcano? Let's dive in. Scientists are telling us, drum roll, nothing. A little bit surprising. They say, questions being asked, is this a sign of an impending eruption or some other hazard? They say no. Rather, it's another example of Yellowstone's dynamic nature. Okay, let's dissect this. When I read something like this, it's always like, okay, before social media, before the internet exploded, right? If you wanted to go on vacation, you had to go to a travel agency and look at their brochures, and you couldn't go on Google Earth. You didn't know where the hotel was, right? So they described it as very centrally located, means you're not at the beach, you have a 5-lane highway in front of you, right? So I compare this, Yellowstone's dynamic nature. Well, if I'm talking about a supervolcano and I say it has a dynamic nature, that doesn't calm me down. But so I have to say the whole sentence that the scientist said. It's another example of Yellowstone's dynamic nature and what we can learn about the characteristics of the subsurface using a new generation of sensitive monitoring tools. Okay, I have to quote another scientist from Italy about the supervolcano in Naples, Campi Flegrei, who said, yeah, the INGV always tells us we're monitoring the situation, right? There is no sign of an imminent eruption. Well, he said monitoring doesn't guarantee you safety because you monitor it until she's hitting the fizzy, right? So they now say, in the event of any future activity, we would have plenty of notice. Yellowstone is closely monitored and signs of significant seismic disturbances would show up decades in advance. Okay, decades in advance. Hopefully, right? I mean, when I ask my gut feeling and what I know about Yellowstone, I don't think it's ready to erupt at the moment. But how can I describe this? I feel a little bit more unease about it than I did before, because even smaller stuff, right, with so many tourists in there, not so good. So they're saying the current deformation is also minor in magnitude. They say it pales in comparison to deformation seen at other caldera systems. And before any hazardous activity, the deformation rates would accelerate dramatically, something that can obviously be tracked by a continuous GPS network. But yeah, the problem is, who tells you that it doesn't accelerate dramatically tomorrow? That is the big question that nobody can answer. We have seen it at Campi Flegrei, how it all of a sudden has accelerated, right? Again, guys, it's not erupting tomorrow. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just trying to put this into a box, into a risk frame, right? So don't be scared. But definitely it changes the perspective a little bit, and how they're wording this here. I want to have more hardcore scientific research. That's what I can say. So the question, is Yellowstone dangerous? They're saying yes. Like most areas with a lot of volcanic activity, it can be hazardous, but not because of any immediate danger of a super eruption. Yes, I agree with that. Fears about an impending eruption of the supervolcano that created Yellowstone have circulated online for years. We know that, and we know many YouTubers always keep, well, no, I don't want to call them YouTubers because they're fake bot farms. I don't even want to call them a him or a he or she, because it's an it. It's multiple guys. So yeah, this is BS. So if they copy my video now with a thumbnail, Yellowstone's about to erupt, you know what you're dealing with. And they will copy this video, I can tell you already. So last summer, there were videos, and a lot of you wrote me and you were concerned about that, of animals appearing to flee Yellowstone National Park. These videos actually went quite viral. So that was leading up to speculation that the supervolcano would erupt. But guys, I told you in my previous video, what these videos actually showed though was really, it was a natural migration of animals in the park. This is what they do. So anything else you saw was misleading. Yellowstone is not overdue for an eruption. It was created 0.63 million years ago. Right now, still, it's not overdue. But also, we have to say, according to the USGS, most supervolcanoes, they're not very simple volcanoes. They're very complex. They don't work like most volcanoes. Most volcanic systems that have a super eruption, they do not have them multiple times. So this is what they're hoping for. They say, while it's possible Yellowstone may see more volcanic activity in the future, it probably won't be on that scale again. That is what we're hoping. But even at a smaller scale, it's still dangerous, right? And again, it's not overdue. Supervolcano. U.S. Geological Survey defines a supervolcano as volcanic center that had an eruption on the scale of 8, Volcanic Explosivity Index, 8 VEI, meaning that at one point in time it erupted more than 1,000 cubic kilometers. That's 240 cubic miles of material. So yes, the Yellowstone caldera was created by volcanic activity from a so-called super volcano, but according to the USGS, it's a little bit more complicated than that. The largest eruption at Yellowstone was 2.1 million years ago and had a volume of 2,450 cubic kilometers. So like many other caldera forming volcanoes, most of Yellowstone's many eruptions it had have been smaller than VEI 8 super eruptions, but still bad enough, right? So That just as a clarity. I'll be on the pulse of this, guys, for you. Check out my videos in the end screen. So much is happening now. Crazy things in Italy. You have never seen anything like this before. What's happening in Sicily. So check it out. Be safe. Enjoy your visit to the Yellowstone Park. Stay a little bit away from the geysers. We know what happened there. I wouldn't go these walkways. No, I wouldn't, I have to say, to be honest. But other than that, enjoy nature. Be safe, be prepared. See you in the next one. Thank you so much.